Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this webinar. My name is Johan, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Taj and Scott. The three of us are financial advisors at Aspen Capital Management. Today, we are going to be talking through Social Security, specifically how it works, some of the most common decisions people face, and how to think about claiming strategies in a way that fits into your overall financial plan. We know this is a topic that comes with a lot of questions, and honestly, a fair amount of confusion as well. Between headlines about Social Security running out, different claiming ages, and how spousal or survivor benefits work, it can be tough to know what decisions actually make sense. Our goal today is to simplify things. We want to walk through the key concepts in a clear, practical way and show a few real life scenarios to help bring it all together. Before we jump in, I'll quickly walk through what we'll be covering so you know what to expect. First, we'll start with the basics of Social Security, how the system works, and what benefits are available. From there, we'll spend some time on how to think about building your Social Security strategy. This is really where a lot of the key decisions come into play, especially around when to claim and how different scenarios can impact your overall plan. And then we'll wrap up with the logistics of how to actually file for benefits so you have a clear understanding of what the process looks like when the time comes. As always, while we'll be covering general strategies, the right decision really depends on your individual situation. But this should give you a solid framework to think about those decisions. With that, let's start with the basics. Social Security is a government program that provides guaranteed income in retirement that is primarily funded through payroll taxes. Currently, over 65 million Americans receive Social Security benefits. It operates on what's called a pay-as-you-go system, meaning today's workers are funding benefits for current retirees. In terms of what it provides, it's a monthly income stream that lasts for life, includes inflation adjustments, and can also provide benefits for spouses and surviving spouses. And when it comes to timing, you have flexibility. You can claim as early as 62, receive your full benefit around 67, or delay up to age 70 to maximize your benefit. The key thing to remember is that Social Security isn't meant to cover everything. It's really the foundation that the rest of your retirement plan is built on. With that, I'll turn it over to Taj, who will give an overview of how Social Security benefits are calculated.
Perfect. Thank you, Johan. So your Social Security benefits bottom line is going to be the highest 35 years of your earnings, an average of those highest 35 years, adjusted for inflation. The path of that is again your earnings history that moves forward through an inflation adjustment for your past earnings that are indexed for wage growth, which then moves forward into calculating that benefit, which is called your primary insurance amount, also known as PIA, and that is converted into your monthly benefit. The taxation of Social Security when you do file and eventually get you receive monthly benefits. Again, higher income, more of it is taxed up to a certain limit. So up to 85% of your Social Security benefit may be taxed at your current tax rates. Big talks around last July in 2025. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act was signed into law on July 4th. A lot of headlines around that this was a lowering Social Security tax. All in all, nothing has changed. The individuals who are 65 and older do have a bonus senior deduction, but it is not a direct impact on lowering Social Security taxes. Key takeaways really to understand here is that working longer can increase your benefit. Higher earners equals a higher benefit up to a certain cap. There is a wage cap of $184,500. In simple terms, what that means, if, for instance, if you have somebody making $500,000, but someone only making $184,000, they're both paying the same amount of money into Social Security that year because that cap is set at $184,000. And lastly, not all years matter, like I mentioned above, for your earnings history. It is the average of your top 35 highest earning years. So think of those more peak earning years towards the tail end of your career and in the subsequent years beforehand. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Scott, and he'll talk more about the future of Social Security.
Thanks, Taj. Taj just mentioned a moment ago, you may have seen some headlines last year about the tax bill. You may have also seen some headlines that claim that Social Security is going to be bankrupt by 2034, which is also kind of a fairly misleading statement. Remember, Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. Over 90% of benefits today are funded through current payroll taxes. Now, that 10% gap is met from the Social Security Trust Fund, and that's what's actually expected to be depleted by 2034. So let's take a look real quick at some projections if Congress doesn't take any action before 2034. If you look there on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see in 2034, once that trust fund is depleted, about 81% of benefits are going to be met through payroll taxes, and the 19% of benefits will be left unfunded. Then if we take a look at the end of the century, so this is in 2099, about 72% of benefits are projected to still be funded through payroll taxes.
So Scott, that's some pretty interesting information and data there. What should we expect moving forward?
Yeah. So when we've seen kind of similar issues in the past, Congress has always stepped in to address the funding gaps. So younger people should expect to see adjustments. This could include increasing the full retirement age past age 67. This is most likely going to affect younger workers who are going to have plenty of time to adjust to that new retirement age. We could also see the raising the amount of wages that are subject to Social Security tax, or even increasing the payroll tax on those wages. It's important to realize that Social Security does have broad bipartisan support, and a large portion of our population relies on these benefits. So we can expect that Congress is going to take action in some form before we actually see a reduction in benefits. So let's take a look for a moment now at types of Social Security benefits. There's several types. Today, we're really just going to focus on 4. And we'll start over here with your own retirement benefit. This is the benefit you received based on your own record of paying into Social Security during your working years. To receive benefits, you must have at least 10 years of work history. The earliest you can claim is going to be 62. And as we'll show you in a moment, when you claim early, that benefit is permanently reduced. The spousal benefit is for those who either don't have enough work history or their benefit is substantially smaller than their spouse's benefit. This is going to be based on the working spouse's record, and that benefit is up to 50% of the working spouse's benefit at their full retirement age. You need to be at least 62 again, and the working spouse must have claimed their own benefit for you to claim the spousal benefit. You're not going to receive your own plus the spousal. You're simply going to receive whichever is the higher of those two. Similarly, if you're divorced, you may be able to claim a spouse benefit based on your ex-spouse's record. To qualify, the marriage must have lasted over 10 years. You must be currently unmarried, and you both must be at least 62. The Social Security Administration does not expect you to contact your ex-spouse when claiming this benefit, so you're not going to need to communicate with them in order to get that working. If you're a surviving spouse, you can claim a benefit based on your deceased spouse's record. You have to be at least 60 years of age or 50 if you're disabled, and you must have been married at least 9 months. You are able to claim this survivor benefit independently of your own benefit, so it is possible to claim a survivor benefit early and allow your own benefit to continue to grow.
We understand there's a lot of information here on this slide of the different types of benefits. So in the next section, we will get into more detail on 2 of the more common scenarios that we typically see clients come across. So getting into Social Security strategies, Taj will start us off with a visual of the impact that timing can have on your Social Security benefit.
Awesome. Thanks, Johan. Big thing to consider here. First off, explaining this graph to all the viewers listening right now. Your y-axis is going to show a decrease or an increase in benefit. First number to bring your eyes to is at age 67. For most people, your full retirement age is going to be age 67. Hypothetically, that average benefit is about $2,100 a month. That is your full retirement age. Drawing your eyes all the way to the left, or excuse me, to the right, where that age 70 of $2,600 a month, you do get an 8% increase every year from that full retirement age benefit. And to further explain, it is an 8% simple interest, so it is not 8% compounded year over year. So you can think of it, you have a 24% increase for those 3 years total from age 67 to 70. On the flip side, if you look over at claiming at the earliest age for your own benefit at age 62, that benefit could potentially be reduced 30%. And that is a permanent reduction, as we've mentioned there. Big thing, I'll say one big thing to look at here is that permanent reduction does stay permanent moving forward, even past age 70. So it is important to make sure you contact your advisor, talk about a claiming strategy on what's most optimal for you in your financial plan. And then lastly, oh, excuse me. And then lastly, one big thing to highlight here is that the difference between that age 62 to age 70, that is a delta of a 77% difference. So again, it's more convoluted than just taking your Social Security at age 62 or 67 or 70. Contact your advisor, and we can definitely help with thinking of an optimal strategy to take your Social Security.
So Todd, I would say that this is an important slide for viewers to keep in mind as we jump into our next two scenarios. And how would you get us started with our first scenario?
Yeah, perfect. So one of the most common scenarios is going to be a married couple, right? The question of when should I claim my benefit? When should I maybe claim my spouse's benefit? Because you do have claim on that as well. And that is something we run across all three of us, and most married couples are going to have this situation and need to discuss what that looks like. To highlight, we kind of give everyone a visual here, kind of an example of Jane and Bob. Jane here, one thing to highlight is Jane is the higher lifetime income earner. Bob is the lower lifetime income earner, and they're both retired and age 66. A strategy timeline to think about here is first off, at age 66, let's wait, right? We want to make sure we get that no permanent reduction in your Social Security benefits potentially. There could be different situations for Jane and Bob, but overall, we would look at age 67 is when Bob starts to claim his benefit. And the reason there is his benefit is lower, and we can let Jane's benefit continue to increase with that 8% every year from 67 to 70. Once both Jane and Bob get to age 70, that's where Jane will claim that maximum benefit at age 70. There's no benefit in delaying past age 70. And then Bob can have the option to continue his lower benefit or switch to the spousal benefit, which will be 50% of what Jane's benefit is.
Taj, based on this slide, what's a key takeaway for a married couple to keep in mind?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question that we get a lot to here at Aspen Capital. It really is maximizing the lifetime income of delaying that higher earner's benefit. And you can think of it as insurance as well. If Jane does wait till age 70, gets that higher benefit. If God forbid something happens to Jane, Bob has claim over that higher benefit too as well. So it may be important to maximize Jane's benefit in this situation till age 70.
Thanks, Taj. Scott, how would you walk through a second scenario that we have?
Yeah, so let's take a look at what happens when there's a deceased spouse that's involved. Set the stage here again. Sarah, she's going to be the higher earner. Tom was the lower earner between the two of them and the married couple. Tom unfortunately passed away young. Sarah is his surviving spouse. She had a higher benefit. We mentioned earlier that it's possible to claim the survivor benefit independent of your own benefit, and that's what is going to be best for Sarah here. So if we look at age 66, we can claim the survivor benefit for Sarah, and she can allow her own benefit to continue to grow, which is going to maximize her lifetime benefits. Age 67, she's still going to continue delaying, wait until 70 for her own benefit, and then at 70, she's going to claim her own benefit, which is going to be the higher benefit for her lifetime.
Scott, same question here. What's a key takeaway for a surviving spouse to keep in mind with Social Security?
Yeah, so really the key takeaway here is you're going to want to look at both benefits and see what's going to work best in your situation. That's going to depend which one of you is the higher earner, how old you are. Those are all going to come into play. So you really need to look at both benefits to figure out your strategy.
All right. Thanks, Scott. So finally, we'll jump into the last section here. How do I file? And we'll pass it over to Taj for this section.
Perfect. To wrap up here, big question is, this is all good, Johan, Scott, and Talia, but how do I actually file for Social Security? First thing is, when can you file? You have up to 4 months before your selected start date that you can start the application process with the Social Security Administration. So you don't have to wait to the exact dates that you want to start claiming benefits. Get started early so those first monthly payments can come out when you intend for it to do so. Where do you file? Few options here. You can go to ssa.gov and you can file online. You can also visit a local Social Security office if you're in range of one that you can drive into. And lastly, when do payments start? It is the following month after your selected start date. For instance, if Scott selected his Social Security payments to start in May, those will start in June the following month.
As we wrap up, we hope this gave you a clear understanding of how Social Security works and how to think about the key decisions around your benefits. As you can see, while the rules themselves are fairly straightforward, the right strategy can vary quite a bit depending on your specific situation. Things like your income needs, health, and overall financial plan all play a role. That's why we always encourage you to reach out to your advisor if you have any questions or want to walk through your options in more detail. We're happy to help you think through what makes the most sense for your situation and how Social Security fits into your broader plan. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.